want to talk tonight about authority. We start a new series on relationships over the next several weeks. And the first sort of thing we're going to talk about is the word authority. Now, authority is not something we like talking about. You are a rebel base, which means you got a little rebellion in you. There's something inside your being that does not like to submit to authority. It's the reason you get in fights with your parents. That's why you get angry with your teachers for assigning things that feel like it's boring or not worth it. It's why you get mad at your coaches. It's why you want to quit teams. There's something about authority that we as human beings don't like. We don't like sitting underneath authority. But it seems to be the way that God set things up. And it's fascinating to me that most of the tension in your life right now as a teenager has to do with the idea of authority. Just listen to you as you talk about wrestling with your parents. Listen to you as you talk about struggling with teachers or being ready to graduate, move forward, go to the next grade, get out of that classroom. I don't like that coach. Used to play for that team. Can't wait till I'm out from underneath her as a coach, him as a coach. I don't like rules my parents have set into place. I don't like expectations they put on my life. And what seems to be underneath all of this is a question: why do they get to tell me what to do? As a teenager, you're sort of born into this deep desire to rebel. But there is a deeper question underneath the why did they get to tell me what to do? And here it is. The deeper question in your heart is simply this: can I trust them? Or do I have to protect myself? And it's not a bad question, it's an honest one, because some of you have been hurt by authority. Some of you have seen hypocrisy by those that hold authority. Some of you have experienced control by those in authority instead of care. Where they were supposed to bring care to you, you felt controlled. So you rebelled. So you've learned to say, if I don't trust anyone, I won't get hurt. There's some in the room tonight that just like, you rebel against any authority. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying there's something in you that says, I can't trust a lot of people. You might even be a place, it breaks my heart as a dad, but you might be in a place today like, I can't trust my mom. I can't even trust my own father. But the problem with distrust is that it doesn't make you independent. It makes you isolated. At the end of the day, for whatever reason, God created humanity in such a way in which you and I are supposed to not only step into places of authority, but submit to those in authority. The purpose of authority in the scriptures, hear me clearly, is covering. Let me say that again. The purpose of authority in the scriptures is covering. You are in one of the most vulnerable seasons of your life. When it comes to your future, when it comes to the decisions that you're making, nothing is more emotionally charged than a teenager. Nothing is more sort of, not drama, but just like everything seems to be like, oh my gosh, it's going crazy in my life. Nothing seems to be almost like always on the verge of vulnerability in a place that feels almost like things feel out of control in your heart and your mind. And that's just welcome to being a teenager. But the reality is one of the reasons why God has placed authority in your life at a young age is not to make you feel like you're pushed down into who God has called you to be, or not to make you feel like you shouldn't have the freedom that you want to have. The reason the Bible seems to show that you as a person have been placed with great authority over your life, figures over your life that carry authority, is to cover you, is to protect you, is to guide you, to discern you. So what I want to talk about tonight is three things when it comes to authority. If you want to write these down, they're key. Number one, why God calls us to show honor to authority. Why God calls us to show honor to authority. Number two, how you recognize healthy versus unhealthy authority. And number three, how do you honor authority but set boundaries when the authority God has placed over you are people that don't know him? There's some of you that are in authority or that have authority over your life, coaches, teachers, maybe your own parents that don't follow Jesus. How do you show God honor? How do we honor authority when they aren't walking with Jesus? There's a passage in Romans chapter 13, verse 1 that'll be on the screen, and it's a simple passage that we see. It's simply the writer of Romans saying, let everyone be subject to governing authorities. Now, we just sort of say, well, that must have been the government. But basically, there's this idea for there is no authority except that which God has established. God seems to have been, in his sovereign desire to create you and to create humanity, has set people in places of authority. Now, that verse doesn't say that that authority is perfect or flawless. It says that authority is purposeful. There's purpose to the authority that God places over our lives, in our parents, in our teachers, in our coaches, and our spiritual shepherds, as our mentors. There's purpose to it. Authority is not about controlling you biblically. It's about forming you. Authority is meant to protect you, like I said, to cover you, to form you, to guide you, to help you, ultimately to lead you. God uses authority to shape you. Now, I know you know this, but coaches often don't push you because they hate you. Teachers don't assign you work because they're bored and they're like, let's just have her do it, though it may feel that way. Parents don't set boundaries because they want to ruin your life. Healthy authority oftentimes exists because there's a desire to shape you into something stronger than you are right now. A desire to move you and to lead you in a place where there is a recognition that unless they go this way, if these boundaries aren't placed, if these places of fencing and rules aren't in place, there's a great chance that you're going to drive off the side of the road. And I don't mean that just metaphorically. I'm just saying you're just in this place in your life, and listen, I remember it, where all of a sudden you want so badly to be free. You want so badly to make your own decisions, so badly to sort of say, let it be whatever I want it to be. And all of a sudden there's all these authority figures in your life that are saying, no, you can't do this. No, you need to make sure you call, and it's driving you crazy. But hear me, when it comes to the Bible, it seems to be very clear that it is God that has placed authority over your life. And it is very clear that you are called to show honor to that authority over your life. Why? Because if you don't show honor to the authority God has given you, you'll live uncovered. And my greatest fear in this room is that many teenagers are walking the planet absolutely uncovered because they're rebelling against every authority God has placed in their life. Yeah, but you don't know how they treat me or how they talk to me. I'm not saying or justifying the authority of human beings over your life. I'm just simply saying God seems to have ordained it to cover and protect you. So we have to think through, what does healthy authority look like in my life? And even if I don't like it, even if I rub constantly with my mother, rub constantly with my dad, they're healthy. And I'm going to have to learn in this season of my life to submit to that authority. I recognize I want to rebel, but if I'm not careful and I just rebel against every authority, I find myself uncovered. It's unbelievably a vulnerable place to be in when you're constantly rebelling the authority that God has placed over your life to protect you and to lead you. When we reject authority completely, we don't become free. This is a lie. When you reject authority in your life completely, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna be. I can't wait till I'm 18. I can't wait to make my own decisions. You just end up following something. You will submit to the authority of your emotions. You will submit to the authority of friends that you meet along the way. You will submit to whatever social media says this will be fulfilling. You will submit to the impulses of your own flesh when, well, I'm going to desire that. And the authority that God has placed over your life, in your rebellion to it, you are refusing to follow the guide rails that God has put in place to protect you. And I come at this tonight more serious than normal because I am recognizing as I spend time with teenagers that many of you are rebelling against healthy authority that God has placed in your life to protect you, and you're rebelling against it, leaving you uncovered. And when you're uncovered, you're in a place where you don't ever feel safe or at peace. Because the very people that God has placed in your life to cover and give you authority, you are rebelling against. And because you're rebelling against them, you find yourself uncovered. There is no one more deserving of authority, submission in Scripture than Jesus. Jesus had more authority than anyone who has ever lived on the planet. He is God sovereign on the earth, moving among us. And so what did he do as the most powerful being that's ever existed? He served. Jesus says in Mark 10, whoever wants to be great among you must become a servant. Jesus didn't demand submission, he earned trust. If you learn to submit to Jesus now, you'll be ready to lead later. Jesus, in many ways, models for us what it looks like to have healthy authority over our lives, and to recognize that those that have authority have one goal, and that's to serve you. I could probably interview most of your parents in this room, and what you feel like are boundaries they're setting that are unfair, I would argue differently. I would argue they're serving you. I would argue they're setting those things in place in order to serve your life, in order to place you in the best position moving forward. They have an understanding of what it looks like to walk through seasons of dating, or they know understanding of what it looks like to be absolutely sort of drawn into whatever your phone says that you're doing. They understand things like addiction and brokenness and what people do and the evilness in the world. They've set up boundaries not to punish you or to make your life miserable. They set up boundaries because they want to serve you as their parents. Most teachers and coaches that I talk to at the end of the day actually wants best for you. The reality is their desire is to cover you, to protect you, and to serve you. There's healthy authority, and this is what healthy authority looks like. And I want you to think about who this is in your life. These are the type of people that talk about your future with you. You're like, I don't want to talk about my future. They're the ones that want to talk about your future. Where do you want to go to college? Why are you bothering me about that? Where would you like to get a job? You need to get a job. Leave me alone? Why do I have to get a job right now? Healthy leaders, healthy authority wants to care about your future. Why do they want to care about my future? It's my future, Swayze. Because they absolutely love you. And they want to know where do you want to go? Because I want to serve you towards whatever God's placed in your heart for your future. So oftentimes healthy authority looks like people that care about your future and are constantly asking you about your future. And you're like, I don't want to talk about my future. I'm trying to live the now. And the reality is they're healthy because they know they can't lead you if they don't know where God's calling you. Healthy authority looks like this. They don't demand obedience, but it breaks their heart when you choose not to. I'm not saying they're the ones who are like, if you don't do it, though some of us can do that sometimes as parents and teachers and coaches. But at the end of the day, they're not demanding it because they're mean. They're demanding it because their heart breaks. They want you so badly to trust them. Healthy authority looks like someone that can be accountable, someone that you, when you're broken, run to. Who is the person in your life when life completely falls apart, the first one to run to? Is it your mom? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it a teacher? Is it one of us? When life completely falls apart, listen, as adults, 30s, 40s, 50s, when life falls apart, who's the first person we run to? That can kind of pinpoint for us who's a healthy leader. It's interesting to me that if our life, if we were to have someone absolutely dump us, and it's like over us. Our friendship group kick us out. We run to our mothers like, I can't believe this happened. And our mother surrounds us and loves her, yet we struggle with her authority when things are going well. God has placed healthy authority, and those people that you run to in times of crisis oftentimes are the healthy authority that God's placed in your life. And I'm asking you to consider honoring them. Because if you honor them, you step into the plan that God has created in regards to relationships with authority. Who are those people that lead you toward life? Those people that you're drawn to when you feel like your life is falling apart. That's healthy authority. Now, what's unhealthy authority? And this breaks my heart when it is parents. But what does unhealthy authority look like of a coach or a teacher? When do you need to go talk to your parents or to one of us about it? This is what it looks like. When you're controlled through fear. When they demand silence instead of honesty. When they're threatened by your questions. When they push you towards secrecy or shame or sin. Yes, that's unhealthy authority. Do I need to submit to that? No. But you need to figure out who in your life is healthy authority and how do I go to them and discern with them, is this unhealthy authority or am I just rebelling against someone that actually does love me? I'm just perceiving it that way. It's important. When authority asks you to hide or to lie or to sin or to violate your conscience, yes, they've crossed the line. And that is not what I'm talking about in regards to showing honor, in regards to submitting. I'm just saying that could it be that God has placed you in a family, a school, a system, underneath parents that are desiring in a healthy way to move you forward towards your future, and you find yourself rebelling? That's okay, you're a normal teenager. I'm just here to say be very careful, because your life will find itself so much more at peace if you're willing to show honor to those that God has placed in your life of authority. I wish I had known this when I was younger. The Bible never teaches blind obedience. If there's any sort of authority in your life that is unhealthy, that is abusive, it's clear. Acts 5:29 says this on the screen. Paul says we must obey God rather than human beings. There is a deep desire that God is the number one thing we submit to, the number one authority. There is no human being that goes above him. But this is the pattern. We honor healthy authority. We submit to healthy authority. But we refuse obedience to anyone that contradicts Jesus. Sometimes, and this is devastating, sometimes in our life we have to realize that we have to set healthy boundaries with those that are supposed to be in authority, but they're not, and we're going to talk about this. So some of you might be asking yourself, and I don't want you to feel left out at all. I just want to be honest with you tonight. What if my parents don't follow Jesus? First off, before I answer that, if your parents follow Jesus, you have the greatest treasure. If your parents follow Jesus, you have the greatest treasure. You know how many kids on the planet just wish their mom and dad followed Jesus? If your parents follow Jesus and they're in a healthy boundary, I'm begging you tonight to submit to their authority. Trust them. You will one day, 10, 20 years from now, want your children to trust you. Now, what if my parents don't follow Jesus? Scripture is clear in Ephesians 6:1, children, obey your parents in the Lord. There seems to be a pretty important thing there. Obey your parents that are in the Lord, following Jesus. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. The phrase matters. God seems to have given your parents great authority. You honor your parents not only by your posture, not by compromising. Honor means respect. It does not mean replacing Jesus with them, but it does mean trusting them. But if your parents don't follow Jesus, what do? I think many parents are watching you in the way that you follow Jesus. I think many parents that I've talked to that have come to know Jesus more as they've gotten older, oftentimes come to faith because of the faith of their child. My mother took me to church all through all through elementary and all through middle school. Misty and I went to camp at age 15, came to know Jesus fully, met each other there, changed my entire life. I came back a completely different person. I've had this conversation with my dad. My mother knew Jesus. My father did not at age 16. I chased Jesus with everything in my life. I began to serve the church. I began to talk about him all the time. And I was devastated that my father did not. Somewhere around the age of 17 or 18, because I chose to love Jesus and to honor my father, through one of the most, I don't even remember what happened. I have no idea. To this day, I don't know what happened. But he completely turned to Jesus and gave his life and has been chasing after Jesus all this time. Why do I say that? Because one of the best ways that you can honor God is by honoring your parents, by honoring God. Oftentimes, in a way of submitting and trusting your parents who don't know Jesus and treating them with great honor, in praying for them and speaking to them in ways that Jesus would speak to them, in providing them the same grace that Jesus has shown you. Yeah, they don't deserve it. No, you don't either. So by showing your parents grace in the same way that God has shown you grace, there's some sort of way that God sort of allows the kingdom of God to show up in your home. And your parents are like, listen, I don't know why she's treating me with such honor. Nothing is more, and I don't want to use the word offensive. I almost want to use the word blinding. Nothing is more blinding than a young person honoring someone in authority that doesn't know Jesus, but honoring them not because we're agreeing with their authority, we're trusting that the God who created it. If I can honor God by showing grace to those in authority above me. If your parents don't know Jesus, love them. If your parents don't know Jesus, obey them. If your parents don't love Jesus, listen to them. If your parents don't love Jesus and they're asking you to sin, then you can stand up and go, I will not. I cannot, Mom, I cannot. But I love you and I honor you as my mother and I'm for you and I want what's best for you and I'm praying for you. Nothing's more blinding to the eyes of an adult unbeliever than a child who loves Jesus and chooses to honor his parents, knowing that by honoring his parents, he will honor God. Nothing's more blinding. Nothing is more transformative for someone when you treat them with the same grace that Jesus is showing you. That's what God has called me to. It's almost as if God has set this whole thing up so that in submitting and trusting and honoring, we're learning through those in authority over us right now, our parents and our teachers and our coaches, and we're going, I don't know, I want to live my own life. I want to trust my own life. I want to be free from my own life. It's almost like God is saying, I'm going to build into you a deep trust of authority so that if in the practical through your teenage years, you can learn to submit, then you can spend your life submitting to a God you will not see, but have to believe that he wants what's best for you. Oftentimes, the reason we submit to authority in our younger years, and listen, as we get older, our authority sort of dims out. My parents don't have that authority anymore. And in fact, Missy and I are stepping into a place where we feel like we're carrying now the authority of our parents as they get older. I don't have any coaches above me anymore. I've got a boss. I don't really have any teachers. I'm about to be done. And I'm like super old for school still. Like all of these authority figures that you have right now, as you get older, those things diminish. So why would God place you with so much authority so early? Because he's trying to train you to trust those that love you and see far greater than you, that they have great plans for your life and they want to lead you and cover you. He's trying to teach you early what it means to submit to people who love you more than they love themselves. So for some of us, we've got to go to our parents and just say, listen, I'm so sorry. I've got this thing. I've just been rebelling because I want to be free. But I just want to come and say, I love you. And if you think I need to wait here and I need to do this and I need to set this, then I'm just going to say, listen, Mom, you're right. I'm going to submit to it. And I know that goes against everything. You're like, I just want to be older. And I'm just telling you, there's something about this thing of authority that will set you free. There's something about living underneath healthy of authority, being covered by those that carry deep fear of God, there's something about honoring people that's so blinding to people that you're like, God, why are you treating with me such kindness and honor? It points people to Jesus. God is calling you to ask the question, who has he placed in authority over your life that's both healthy and unhealthy? Is there any boundaries I need to set? And the greatest question is this, how do I find myself covered again? And do I need to go to those in authority, whether it's my parents or coach or teacher, and just say, I'm sorry, I'm gonna trust you here. I'm not gonna fight you with this thing anymore. It's not because you're like, well, I feel like that feels like I'm giving up. Yeah. Life's so much better if you just give up. Part of the wrestling match the rest of your life is deep desire. I'm gonna make my own way. I'm gonna make my own decisions. I'm gonna do whatever I wanna do. And part of that's okay, but most of that's not. There seems to be very clear that God has placed governing authorities in our lives throughout our life. Most importantly, Jesus at the very top, where you're not supposed to get whatever you want. You're supposed to trust those that see greater than you, better than you, wiser than you, knowing they want what's best for you more than what you want what's best for you. So, ask the question tonight, who has God placed in authority over me? Am I submitting and trusting and speaking and honoring them? How do you honor them? Hey, Mom, I just came home tonight. We talked about this. I just wanted you to know before I go to bed tonight, I love you and I'm for you. And I know we've been arguing over the phone thing. I'm not going to argue anymore. I'm just going to follow you. That's going to be blinding. She's going to be like, what's happening? You go to shift every week. Like, this is insane. Dad, I know we've been wrestling about the car thing, and I know I really want this, and I want to be able to do this, but listen, I'm just going to trust you want what's best for me. That will be blinding to him. But you'll step back into a place of covering, of honoring your parents. I'm reminded of Joseph and Pharaoh, where Joseph, underneath the court of Pharaoh, who did not know God, did not desire to follow Yahweh, Joseph decided to honor Pharaoh with everything. He honored someone who did not know Yahweh, and through honoring him, he was placed in second command of all. In fact, it saved Israel. There's something about when we honor people that it sort of elevates us in so many ways. It's almost like when we surrender and submit, we actually end up getting the thing we wanted all along, which is more authority. And there's going to be a day, one day, where you will have authority, both spiritual, and you'll have authority over your kids and your spouse, and you will learn how to submit to one another in authority, and you are going to learn that life is so much better when you trust the people that God has placed in your life to cover you and to guide you.